Welcome back to the channel, IndigoAngel. Come on into this dimension, guys. Come on into a Guardian Alliance energy update grid detail briefing for January 22nd, 2026. Today we're going to actually dive straight into talking about Greenland because Greenland, as you know, is not just a landmass being negotiated out in the public, being pleaded for by President Trump in his Davos World Economic Forum speech, but it is, and when I say being pleaded for, I mean being literally like begged for at towards the United Nations. Okay, let's grovel for Greenland. Um, you know, like all I ask for is just this. We've paid for NATO, but all I ask for is Greenland. Give us Greenland. Come on, please give us Greenland. Like, come on, Donald Trump, let's not be desperate here. But other than that, the speech was pretty good, I'd have to say. But, we know there's more to this than just the United States acquiring this. We know that this is a planetary crown grid node. And so this is the head of Turtle Island. This is at the head of the prophecy. This is all about the stability plate and this being a future refuge site in the New Earth prophecy. And so, yes, this is a primary location that remains protected when Earth enters heightened cataclysmic pressure cycles, the Armageddon cycles. Okay, so that's why Greenland is now being pulled into the center of global leadership conversation, is because when this crown node activates, the entire world is simply responding to this. And there's more to it than just that. So, yeah, as you guys know, Trump was speaking at Davos, and the conversation was moving through Denmark, Davos, the broader international field through the United Nations level structures towards the acquisition of Greenland. And on the surface, it is being framed as national security, but I did kind of tune in more with the Guardian energy and the Guardian lens, the Guardian framework, the Guardian perspective. And in Guardian terms, it is also grid security as well, as there's several ties here that are linking Greenland, its Hyperborean gate system, its Atlantean gate system, its um, radiation protection shields, all of the spiritual grid infrastructure that it solidifies a level of grid security. And this also connects directly down to Washington, D.C. This connects directly down to the pyramids in the Yucatan. And this goes directly down to Easter Islands, in which there are Guardian Defender grid networks and systems. So we're going to get into all of that because I feel like this is very pertinent to the unfolding of what Greenland is bringing forward. Okay, so trust me, I like to quickly move on to the next thing, but sometimes things are just so big, they're so magnetic, there's so much hyperdimensional activity that is active that we stick on the topic for a while because it keeps revealing things in more and more layers, right? So, Greenland is the crown grid regulator of the planet. It holds a massive portion of Earth's stabilizing field lines, the magnetics and atmospheric governance points, and it is one of the last remaining ice anchors on the planetary body. Again, this is about global northern territory domination and competition with Russia and having some sort of substantial presence in the northern field. So Greenland has become a political obsession. Um, it is because Greenland is a planetary asset on a spiritual level as well. This is prophecy unfolding. It's not just geopolitical. So I want to bring forward some information that several of you, particularly on Facebook, but some in the comments on YouTube as well, they're all kind of guiding me to look towards similar information. And I just want to thank you guys for bringing that forward. I appreciate that so much. But there is information that comes through David Wynn Miller from a 2012 quantum grammar seminar that he did and these are videos you can find, on YouTube, you can find on Facebook, you can find really everywhere because they're going viral right now. Um, where he is describing the presence of a massive craft that anchored in the center of Greenland. So he talks about a UFO that, like a massive UFO, not just like something, a little saucer UFO, it's massive. Um, and I guess parts of the craft has melted out of the ice in Greenland, and this is why and where they have found it. Um, and the North Pole essentially has completely melted, and the full ice cap is completely gone, except for Greenland. Greenland still holds the major remaining ice, right? So that's actually a planetary shield, a 12D shield, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 144 dimensional shield, to be honest with you. Like that is Guardian shield capacity. Greenland carries an 18,000 foot ice cap. So yeah, we talked about in my last Greenland update what that ice has lots of functions and lots of mechanics as to how that's functioning to protect the vortices, the inner Earth gateways, and all the stargates that are in Greenland. But the craft is anchored directly in the center of Greenland. That's where the craft is located, according to David Wynn-Miller. And the craft created the last ice age 50,000 years ago. So that's what they're saying, that this craft wasn't essentially just a craft, that it's technically a weather machine. It's technically weather modification on this planet. And, this craft may have been placed here from Nibiru. This craft may have been placed here from Saturn. Um, the whereabouts and the origins of the craft is definitely under speculation. I want to say that the craft has Guardian implications, that it ties into Guardian history, and it ties into um, something that came in to transform this Earth in a way that it's all a part of all three of the galactic cataclysmic timelines, because the craft scale is enormous. They're saying it's 55 miles wide, 300 miles long, 200 miles high, and the beings who lived within the craft were known as the Moais. So technically, the craft is still active. And the Moai connection, this is how it ties into Easter Islands. It's not separate from Greenland, right? So this was a Pangean, even pre-Pangean, um, right? So that would have been, um, there's another name for the land continent that was prior to Pangea, but I think that it came in prior to that. But this is where the Guardian Alliance grid map becomes undeniable with the craft, and why I feel like more is revealing itself, but it has to be tied into this because the Greenland craft is connected directly to the Moai heads on Easter Island. And again, you can draw a straight line. I'm going to show you on my map. You can draw the straight line from the craft to Washington, D.C., to the pyramids in the Yucatan and to Easter Islands. And this line is not a symbolic line. It's a grid alignment. It's a direct energy tie. And Easter Island contains excavated moais and structures where the moai are coming out of the ground. So the full body carvings are coming out of the ground. They've been excavated. They reveal 65 to 85-foot full body carvings, and these are the people who essentially lived in this craft. They left an energetic imprint back to it. So this is how I know the Greenland craft is guardian in origin, because the moai is guardian. The craft itself could be powering those 1,000 Moai heads. Um, oh my gosh, I just got full body chills. Like solar plexus is just like blowing up out of my body and into my hands, like, whoa, because it's I have to tell you guys about the Defender networks. Essentially, you have to understand all of the prophecy that is tied to the Thousand Guardian Defender grid, the generator energy of Rapa Nui, because this directly links into what is already documented in my work. Now, if you want more information about this, you can go find my book, The Guardian Alliance, Gridwork and New Earth Prophecy. It's now available for pre-order at IndigoAngel222.com. Links will be down in the description. It's dropping on February 22nd, 2026. So I talk about in my book the Thousand Guardian Defender Grid. I'll pull this picture up here so you can kind of get an idea of a grid template, also known as generator energy, anchored with the sacred lands of Rapa Nui and Easter Islands. And according to the oral traditions of the Rapa Nui people, the nearly 1,000 Moai statues were not only carved, but also placed and moved through the power of mana, through the power of water, through the divine force of the primordial waters, the spirit of this, who is the governing guardian, one of the main primordial governing guardians of this planet. Those who carried mana were said to guide the Moai as if they walked across the water and the land, strategically positioning themselves to open planetary vortices that purified the earth in service of the guardians. And the Moai were carved between 1250 and 1500 CE, embodying this guardian tradition. So they would have obviously landed, when they did in the weather modification UFO, weather system UFO, and then they would have been their traditions would have been carved later. With nearly 1,000 monumental figures spread across the island, Rapa Nui is known as the Island of the Thousand Guardians. These statues form one of the most potent planetary defense systems on Earth, functioning as crystal starfire gate systems. As such, they act as generators of evolutionary movement, catalyzing shifts in the highest pathways of planetary ascension. So, when I tell you Greenland is powering this system, I'm telling you the truth of the planetary circuit and how this is something that activates during cataclysmic initiations on the planet, Armageddon timelines on the planet. Okay, such as Greenland being the refuge site in the future. Is this kind of making sense? Because you see these ties, right? It's all um, kind of the mystery, the allurement, the magnetism, the timeline looping cycles, and holographic structures that are holding up everything that's really holding, I guess you could say prophecy of revelations, prophecy of the dove swan light, activation of the Lemurian light network, which is also fully engaged in the Thousand Guardian Defender grid, which activates the Lemurian light network. Okay, and these matrices summon the four pillars of man. They open the Alpha Omega codes, linking the inner Earth to the galactic core and to the wider omniverse. Running through this system, 12 sound pillar tones, which intersect with the Lemurian matrices and the 144 genetic codes and ancestral memories of humanity. And so, this is what is activating. This is what Greenland is tied into and supporting, and this is unfolding now, right before us. And as far as the descendancy of the angels, right? So Rapa Nui is also known as the place where the four angels of the four directions were first born into the planetary body. So whatever came in that craft brought the angels in as well. There's some sort of a high frequency defense here that is, I think, protective yet opening of passageways that sustain the four faces of man, forming the defender fabric that integrates all planetary defense systems together. And through this unified matrix, they prevent global cataclysm and extract negative forces and distortions from the spiritual earth core body. So, yes, this is all very significant. And I don't think that this UFO is maybe entirely what this guy, just my evaluation of it is. Um, David Wynn Miller saying that this is a UFO craft. I almost feel like this is something beyond a craft. This is something much more advanced than craft. If we could evolve another Guardian lexicon word to essentially describe this, that craft would be the lower form of understanding. Okay, that's just kind of what I'm getting right now, is it's the lower form of understanding, that there's a higher form of understanding of what this structure truly is. Because it's tying into the terrestrial layers that sit over the top of this, because this also ties into something called Camp Century and Project Iceworm, because Greenland also contains documented human operations under the ice. And Camp Century was a real U.S. Army base built inside the Greenland ice sheet beginning in 1959 as part of a highly unusual project. Now, why would they be so guided to go up there and do a highly unusual project, right? Um, because yeah, they had been picking up and reading something connected to this UFO, right? They're like being called up there to this technology. There is some sort of like pull that expanded the US Army base up there. And I don't think, again, it's just political, right? That this was something tied to something far more unusual. So this was located in northwestern Greenland, roughly 150 to 200 miles from the Thule Air Base in the far north. Now, the Thule Air Base contains Draco seals, time distortion anomalies. Where did they get this technology? Okay. Draco ties to this as well, which we haven't fully decoded. But the base was built beneath the surface ice about tens of meters below, and Camp Century had dozens of interconnected tunnels stretching thousands of feet, big enough for living quarters, a chapel, a theater, and support facilities. It was powered by the Army's first mobile nuclear reactors, PM2A, that operated there for several years. Officially, it was presented as an Arctic research station and a way to test living and engineering techniques under extreme conditions. After several years, the camp was abandoned in 1966 to 1967 when the Greenland ice proved too unstable, shifting and deforming the structure. Today, Camp Century is buried under tens of meters of ice and snow, and modern radar can still detect remnants of its tunnels beneath the surface. Now, just tuning into this, I want to say that these tunnels expand into the craft, the UFO craft, that this is connected to this, that those tunnels would be leading to secret operations under the ice, right? Another part of this is Project Iceworm, the real Cold War mission. Project Iceworm was the top secret Cold War mission linked to Camp Century. The Army wanted to build a vast network of mobile nuclear missile launchers and tunnels beneath Greenland ice sheet, hidden and protected so they could survive a Soviet first strike. Plans envisioned hundreds of missiles and thousands of miles of tunnels connected by rail to rapidly move launchers where needed. And most of this plan was never built. Only the experimental portions like Camp Century's tunnel network, and it was canceled because the Greenland ice flows were not stable. Tunnels shift, structures deform. Engineers realized the missile basing concept wasn't viable. The operation was officially aborted by the mid 1960s, and no missiles were ever deployed. But yes, so the point I'm trying to make is that Project Iceworm and Camp Century, that all needs to fully be dived into and investigated. Those are top secret um, military cover layers that essentially are, I think, a part of the encryption of this UFO, right? They are hiding this information, and it's connected to this. It's all connected to these defense powers and missiles and tunnels. So when you put this together, you get the full Guardian Alliance picture. Greenland contains a Guardian level craft anchor in the center of the ice. Military access and monitoring layer is around it. Cold War infrastructure designed to weaponize the Arctic grid, and a planetary function tied directly into the Thousand Guardian Defender grid on Rapa Nui is the actual keys, is that true spiritual keys. So this is why Greenland is being pulled into global conversation now because the grid is correcting, the crown is activating, the high level knowledge of Draco implants and seals are also coming online and being dissolved. Okay, because that is the main Draco seal in the planet, is what's been stuck in the Thule military base. So the refuge architecture is coming online, and because the Planetary Defense Network is resurfacing, it's all resurfacing now because obviously, you know, we could say human beings on this planet are a little bit neglectful and they're a little bit, you could say, unwise to um, the planet's message and what the Guardian framework is ultimately bringing forward through the vortices, the gateways, the stargates, the ley lines, and the anomalies that have been implanted here. So Greenland is not just a headline in what we're experiencing. It's a living grid node, and we are activating a living grid experience through what we are watching unfold through the Greenland conquest, what we are watching unfold through Davos, Denmark, and the UN field, the public level movement around the crown node that cannot be ignored anymore. So, and a lot of people say, like, why do you pull in politics with this? Because politics equal policy, and policy affects people, and starseeds are people. Higher consciousness community are people. Everyone that's a part of this movement is a part of that, and it's all an extension arm in which dictates 1D through 5D reality. So stay awake, stay anchored, stay aligned, and remember the guardian systems are ancient, they are precise, they are divine, they will reveal the truths. Um, they are operational currently. We are still in the quarantine window up until 2044. So everything is activating now. Everything. Okay, guys, I love you, family. Please stay tuned to the channel for more updates, for more energy updates, grid updates, and also my healing channelings that if you would like to do energy work with me, you're more than welcome to watch that content as well and follow along and receive the information, the downloads that are coming through because it's all kind of current and relative to what is going on now. So stay in touch that way. If you want to do private sessions with me, you can also book with me at IndigoAngel222.com. And if you want the deeper breakdown on Greenland, Rapa Nui, the Moai network, the Dove grid systems, the Swan grid, the planetary defense systems, and what it all contains, because it's so much bigger than just the 1,000 Guardian Moais and UFO spacecrafts in Greenland, my book is now available for pre-order. The Guardian Alliance Gridwork and North Prophecy at IndigoAngel222.com. Links are down below. I love you guys. See you on the next show.